Hey everybody, Justin here from the Hangfire Podcast. Well, it finally happened yesterday. The big news, I'm sure everyone has heard by now, but the Stones put out their live stream to announce that the new album, Hackney Diamonds, would be available and released on October 20th. And they also put out the full single and music video to the song Angry yesterday. Very exciting. It was like Christmas Day yesterday. It was like a Stones holiday. I'm sure everyone was busy either watching the clips, watching the live stream, enjoying the live stream. It was a very fun live stream, and also enjoying the song the whole day. It was a crazy day for me because I was putting up some different material, and I finished my own live stream after the Stones live stream, which went very well. But I hadn't had a chance to listen to the song and give it a close listen. So I thought I'd spend some time talking about my experience listening to the song. Overall, I really liked the song. It took me a minute to kind of warm up to it, I have to admit. I mean, there's a lot of slickness to it in many ways that just comes to the territory these days. You know, people can use that as a reason to not like the song, but let's be real. The Stones are a big band. This is a huge event to have a new song out and a new album out. So it was going to be very slick sounding. And, you know, that's not going to really take away too much from the enjoyment of the music, you know, I don't think at the end. Because at the end of the day, the production is pretty damn good. I mean, it's a loud, big sound. I mean, the first thing you notice is just how juicy and fantastic Steve Jordan sounds on the drums. It's mixed so great, and it sounds large, and it sounds thunderous. And right from the beginning, you have this impactful kaboom, like you get that aggression and the anger and the energy of the track hits you from the beginning. And so that is really undeniable. So we're off to a good start really from the beginning. Mick undoubtedly sounds fantastic on this track. I mean, he's really coming through very powerfully, and his vocals are top notch. I mean, the guy is 80 now, and he was probably 79 when he recorded this a year ago or so, or 8-9 months ago. But come on, I mean, listen to those vocals. He is just pushing through that and adding some nice flavors. There was a couple nice blues notes and blues bends that he was doing on the end of some of those lines, which added some nice tension to the melody and so forth. And you know, it was just, yeah, that's the first takeaway, is that Mick sounds fantastic on it. Apparently there are a couple vocal effects that are happening throughout his vocal, which didn't stand out to me as much, but they're happening in very small ways, a bit of an auto-tune vibe, and it didn't bother me at all. So that might be something that people might be noticing as they listen to the song. I have to say that my favorite element of the song is Keith Richards playing bass on this track. I think that is such a cherry on top, and absolutely, for me, elevates the track to a different level just to hear Keith play bass on a track. From my calculations, there hasn't been a Rolling Stones single with Keith on bass since maybe Jumping Jack Flash. I'll have to check my files. I don't think there has been anything in the modern era that has Keith on bass. I mean, people would be surprised to find out that Keith actually played bass on many classic tracks like Jumping Jack Flash and Sympathy for the Devil. He plays bass on Live With Me. He's back again playing bass on this song, Angry, and it adds such a nice feel to it. From the moment it comes in, you sense that this is a special player. It's very bouncy and playful, and it adds a lot of space, and it's incredibly dynamic, which the track needs, I think, because I think the track is actually very smooth, and it is a slick song in terms of its tightness. So Keith adds a little bit of some tension to the song by having the song be a little bit more bubbly on the bottom end. So it's a very playful performance. I highly suggest you listening very closely to the bass, because that is Keith Richards, and he sounds fantastic. I love the way they mixed the bass. They added a little bit of a effect to it that gives it a bit more of a body, a bit more of a crunch to the bass that makes it just so delicious to the ears. So again, I just can't emphasize that enough, that it's very fun to listen to the bass on this track. Keith Richards. As I was saying, the production is fantastic. Great arrangement. The guitars sound very tight and very manicured in their own spaces. I kind of wish there was a little bit more of Ronnie Wood. Ronnie does come through around the minute 10, minute 15 mark with some fills on the right channel. And then you get a gorgeous, small little sliver of a Keith lick on an open G tuning on the left channel around the 120 mark, which is very, has echoes of Tumblin' Dice in there. The song is in the key of B, so that is the same key as Tumblin' Dice. So maybe that has an effect on me. But it's so great to hear Keith kind of come up in the mix with that little lick, and I suggest people go and listen to that. I kind of wish Keith was more involved in the mix. I can hear that he's playing, doubling up the open G riffage on the left channel, but the opening riff appears to be a combination of Mick and Keith, maybe a little bit more on the Mick side, where he's dominating that opening riff. I do hear Keith maybe on the left channel, but I kind of wish that for these songs that Mick would kind of relinquish the guitar duties and hand them all over to Keith. I think that's sort of one of the things that people don't realize, that it's a delicate detail, meticulous thing, but for me, when the Stones are combining all their different energies together, that's where that push and pull begin. When it comes to songs that Mick kind of brings half finished or practically finished to the studio, it seems as though that he will take the reins on the main guitar, and that really will help drive the song. And the songs that you have as examples for this are literally almost any song he plays guitar on are definitely songs that he absolutely wrote single-handedly or in a big way, except for one song that he doesn't play guitar, and I'll get to that in a second. But so in the modern era, you can go back all the way to Steel Wheels, Sad, 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 Rock in a Hard Place. And then you go into Saint of Me and Don't Stop and Doom and Gloom. All these songs, just to name a few, are songs that Mick, had a major way of writing and maybe already brought to the band in a mostly finished way. So I think logistically, if I were to just, guess what was going on, obviously as an outsider, just guessing, it's probably just quicker and easier to have the guy who wrote it just lead the band in playing it with him on guitar. But for a lot of those songs that I mentioned just now, I think those songs would have been brought to a different level if Mick handed the riff and the guitar reins over to Keith to take on. Because the only song, not the only song, but one of the songs that Mick did this with, where he doesn't play the guitar on the recordings necessarily, or definitely not on stage, is Brown Sugar, which most people don't realize that is a song that Mick mostly wrote by himself while he was filming Ned Kelly in Australia. So he wrote the song on his own, and you can even see that famous video that's on YouTube of Mick Jagger backstage at Madison Square Garden in 1969 showing the riff to Ike and Tina Turner. Not only showing the riff, but performing it and fragments of what he had of the song up to that point. So Brown Sugar is very much a Mick Jagger song. But, obviously most people think of it as a Keith song because it's such an open G guitar, classic Keith sound. And that's the beauty of those kind of collaborations. It's the ones that Mick kind of starts off and eventually hands a good percentage of the guitar work off to Keith and then becomes this magical thing. Anyway, so my point is, the same goes for the song Angry. I can sense that Keith is there, but I think it's Mick who's really driving that riff in the forefront of the arrangement. And the good thing is that he comes through more towards the end of the song, really after the guitar solo, and that's Keith on the guitar solo that comes around the halfway point towards the end. And I do think I hear some of Ronnie also slip in a little bit as well. Those are the things I kind of miss on a lot of these songs, is that I miss Keith having more of a space for the guitar. And I'm sure there are going to be many other songs on the new album that will have just that. So I don't need every song to be that way. But I mean, I don't know, it's your lead single, yes, that classic suspended fourth riff is classic Stones, but there's an added touch when Keith gets to play it all by himself. So that's just a very stupidly meticulous complaint to have. But when you're a Stones fan, you care about these details. And anyway, something that I noticed that I don't know if others would, but thought I'd mention it. So one other thing that I really enjoyed in the song is the outro. The outro is classic Stones, where everything sort of builds to the last few minutes or few seconds of the song, and it becomes an all-out, not a jam per se, but they do get to extend themselves a bit, and it's so fun to listen to, especially with headphones. Everything is kind of clashing with each other and bouncing off each other, and the star, again, is Mick Jagger on those vocals. Classic Mick Jagger on the outro of this song, where he's sort of riffing and just going nuts on the mic, and he is just giving it, and you want it to go on forever. Steve bumps it up a bit by going on the ride, and the energy is just, everything's in the air and everything's being juggled, and it sounds great. And the outro could have gone on for another 2 minutes, and it reminds me of other great outros in other lead singles, like Don't Stop has a great outro. I beg people to go check out Don't Stop. If you don't like Don't Stop, well, okay, then you can skip it. But that outro on Don't Stop is just good stuff. Ronnie with his lead guitar on there. Rough Justice has a great outro as well. That's a great one too. But anyway, Angry, put that on the list of great outros for the Stones, and they really got a nice one here, especially with those background vocals. Looping around with angry, and that they were singing in the back, which is just a nice little collage of sounds. So it ends on a great mark. I think it ends a little too early, but hey, tight 3:46, I believe, is the time that it clocks in at. Not bad. We'll take it. So that's my review for now. Overall, I like the song a lot, and I think we're off to a great start. Very, very promising start for the album Hackney Diamonds, coming out on October 20th. So I'm excited. I hope you're excited too. And what did you think of the song? Let me know in the comments below. I think I'm going to go listen to the song one more time. Be right back.